All right, then, since we successfully finished designing this UI part, now what we have to do is we have to implement this saving option, whether the job for the user to allow the user to save that particular job in order to apply it for the later purpose. So let's go ahead and update our schema, right? Because we haven't updated that our schema. So let's go ahead and change something in our schema. So right after here in the attachment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say saved users, and I'm going to create it as a string, and that is going to be an array of strings. Okay, so that okay, so I forget that I already added the saved users, so no, we don't need to change anything in the schema then. So let's get back to the job card item. So I thought, so far I thought I didn't have that particular array in my hand. If, oh my god, my bad. Okay, so what we are going to do is, so here I'm gonna say const is saved by user. If saved by that particular user, and if you have the user ID in your hand, then you should say job dot saved users dot includes, then you should check that user ID inside that array, whether you're having the user ID. That's the reason I'm checking the user ID over here, because at this point you might get the user ID at null. Only if you have the user ID, check that. Okay, so if it is saved, then what I need to do is saved by the users, then use this icon, or else use bookmark icon. So save it. Now you can see all the icons are changed over here. So we have to use the same stuff where at the all the way to the bottom, the place where we created the icon, scroll all the way to the bottom. And over here, I'm just going to say is saved by user. Then let's say as saved, otherwise save for later, save the changes. Now you can see everything is saying and save for later or something. Either user clicks over here, or if he clicks over here, both are going to be same. So for this button, hover, it's looking awkward. Hover text is going to be white. It's going to be white. So this is how it looks even when you're hovering it. Perfect. Next, what we need to do is right after here on click, I'm gonna say on click save job. That's the function. So let me copy this action and let me do the same stuff for what? For the same icon where we are having it here. Okay, for this we need to do that. So this is just the icon, right, for this button. So what we can do is I can create a div and I can add the on click for it, and I can bring it and I can put it over here. So now we don't have this, so let's go ahead and create that particular on click event. So const on click this action empty function, and this is going to be an asynchronous function. Save the changes. So everything is going to remain the same, no changes in it. Perfect. Okay. So now what we are going to do is, so over inside here, I'm just going to bring the try and catch. If there is any error is happening, I'm just going to say toast.error, open it and say something went wrong. And let's do the console.log as well, as for the time being for our error handling purpose. Later, what we need to do when you're pushing it for the deployment purpose, you need to remove all these things. So let's print that error as error dot message, get that message. All right. Okay, so so I'm gonna make this a set is loading, set is bookmark loading, that is going to be true. Oops, true. And over here I'm going to open the finally block and I'm going to say set is bookmark loading as what? False. Save the changes. Now if I click this, instantly it is happening. Let me hide it. Click this You can see this is how that loading state it should going to be looks like inside that button, that and in the loading thing is going to be happening like that. So I'm gonna and comment this one. And now what I need to do is we need to say if is saved by user, which means already user saved that particular job. We need to remove it, or else we need to save that job. Okay. So now let's go ahead and create the API for that. So minimize it, get into the API where it is app, API, jobs, job ID. And here I'm going to create a new folder called save job to collection. And here I'm going to create a new file called route.ts. Okay, inside that, now what we are going to do is I'm going to minimize it, and let's say export const patch is equals to an asynchronous function. Okay, this function is going to get two different parameters, which is going to be the request, and that is going to be the request itself. Then it's going to get the params, and let's get the type of the params, so which is going to be the params. Inside that we are going to have the job ID, which is going to be the string type. Okay, save the changes. This is how it should looks like. Make sure this job ID and this particular job ID both are same. Okay, next what we need to do, or else what we can do is publish and unpublish are both are quite looking exactly the same. Simply copy everything from there, and then oops, what is happening, where it is. And okay, so let's get into the save to jobs, and here I'm just going to paste it, everything, literally copy it from the publish or anyone unpublish, both of them are going to be the same only. So we are going to find the job. If not job, we are going to return job.not thing. So at this point, instead of publishing it, I'm gonna delete this, and I'm going to say update the job by what, whether it is saved or not. So const updated job is equals to await db dot job dot update, open it, where id, which is going to be the job id itself. Then you need to supply the user id. Then you need to supply the data, which is going to be the updated data. So we don't have this updated data. So right above here, what I'm going to do is const updated data is equals to open it. So here I'm just going to say saved users, which is coming from where, from your schema. Open it, this is the name, copy it, get back over here, say saved users. So if the job dot saved users, which is going to check push user id. If not, I'm going to create an array with that specific user id. So which means save user is already an array, right? So we are going to make sure if there is a jobs.save user, which means the job.save user array is already existed in our MongoDB. In that case, push this new user ID. If the job.save user itself is not in our MongoDB, in that case, create an array and push that user array in that particular. So for a very first time, if you're opening it, and if I'm launching this project, so the saved user is not going to be there. It's going to be literally null. Right? In that situation, we need to create an array, then we need to push that user ID over there. For the next time, if anyone trying to save that job, array will be already there, then it's going to push that ID inside that array which is already existed. Right? So we need to overcome that issue also, because otherwise you will run into some unwanted data error by the time when you're running this application. So let's say updated data. So save these changes. Okay. Now all we have to do is to duplicate this same thing. So I'm going to create one more folder inside here. Otherwise we can copy and paste this one, and I'm going to rename this remove job from collection, and inside this route what I'm going to do is we are going to keep everything as it is, no changes in that. So we need to remove that job now. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do, instead of this updated data, so I'm going to say const user index. I need to figure it out what index that particular user is. Saved users dot index of that particular user ID. So now I get that index. So if the so using that index, now what I need to do, if the user index, if it is not equals to -1, then what I need to do, I need to remove that user, which means that if it is not equal to -1, means if the user index it's not equal to -1, that means that user index is not in that saved user. So that's the thing. So I'm gonna say const, literally we can cut it this thing from here, and I can paste it over here, and I can, what we can do, update the jobs, await var id user id, and data is not going to be this, open it. Okay. Why it is showing, oh my goodness, I made some mistake over here. So we need to send the updated job, not updated data. That's why I'm getting this error. So we need to send the updated job. So here what I need to do is, so but still we are getting error over here. So in order to remove that, so first let's finish this function. Okay, so here I'm just going to say saved users, which is going to be, open it. Then I'm going to use this set, because basically it's an array. So I'm going to use this set. So job dot saved users dot filters, I'm going to use this filter method, open it. Then I'm going to get the saved user ID from it, because inside that we're having the array strings only, so we're going to get that. So saved user ID, which is not equals to user ID, whatever the ID which I'm sending currently into this API, it's need to remove except that. So it's need to remove that ID from the array collection. So I'm going to use the filter method. So I'm going to remove that ID, and I'm going to keep the remaining ID, which means that ID will be removed from that collection. So still we are getting the issue over here. This is because we can't access that. So I'm going to say let updated job. Okay, so we'll just create the let updated jobs. Now you will fix that issue, so you will not get that issue over here. Okay, so otherwise, wait a minute, let's try. What we have to do is, let's say JSON dot stringify that updated job. So const okay, it is not accessible, that's the reason. So let's create this updated job where let updated job, which is, save it. Now you will not get that issue. So let's go ahead and try that now. So over here, now we have that both possibilities of saving and removing it. So right after here, this is the place. If it is already saved, we need to do remove collection. So I'm just going to say await axios.patch, open it. So then use the dynamic string controls and API slash jobs slash use the job ID, job dot ID. Perfect. Then right after here, then I'm gonna use this, where is the API, this folder name, copy and paste it over here, remove collection, because if it is already saved by that user, we need to call the remove collections. And then once it is done, I'm just going to say toast.success. I'm just going to say job removed. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over here. This time this is going to be copy and paste it over here, and this time this is going to be job saved. And once all these things are done successfully, I need to refresh the page. So const router is equals to use router from next navigation, and refresh it right after over here, router dot refresh. Open it. Perfect. So now save those changes and let's refresh it, and let me get the inspect elements, get to the network, close it. Now we have these jobs and everything. Perfect. Okay, so now I wish to save this particular job. Okay, so what I can do is I can save this. If I click this, now you can see it's calling save job to collection, and it's saying job saved. And if you check it out over here, you can see it is saved, because you can see saved users, that particular user ID is added to that particular job. Okay, so now it is saved, it's showing it is saved, and still the color is not updated. The reason is because this is the way where we are using the saved icons uses, right? This is the one save icon uses. So for this class name, I need to add some colors. If it is saved by the user, then I need to use the color as text emerald 500, or else I need to use the text muted 400. Save it. So now you should be able to see that it is successfully saved by the user, right? And you should be able to see the text over here as saved. Okay, which is pretty much clear. This is what exactly we wanted it, right? All right, so now if I wish to remove this, now let's check it out over there. Click it, console, close it. So now if I click this, it is going to save that particular job, and it is saved successfully. And if I click this one more time, that is going to remove it, job removed, and it is refreshed, and it is get back over here. So which is good. So far we successfully saved these jobs to the users collection, and it is working perfectly how we wanted it. All right, and next let's click this details, and let's go ahead and customize this job details page, and that is what we are going to do next. All right, and before that we need to make sure this filters, all these things are working properly. Yes, that's the most important thing. So we need to fix those filters, and that is what we are going to do. Because if you check it out over here, we have the category wise filters, date wise, working schedule, working modes, experience. These filters are working perfectly, so we have to implement over here. Just we need to add those filters one after another, and that's what we are going to do in the next video.